today I'm going to be touching up some rust that I found when I removed one of my body panels. Hey guys, so this is a 2007 Toyota FJ Cruiser, and as I usually start off my videos, if you have any questions about anything that's done to it, please check out the other videos that I have on it, because they will answer most of your questions, even though I really don't mind answering questions that are asked about it. But getting onto this, so I had to remove this panel yesterday, and when I removed it, I noticed that there's some very unsightly rust that has developed. And it looks like this panel's been removed before. Part of that is because they did a really poor job at replacing the glass, which is another thing, because my roof leaks whenever we get heavy rains, and I'm gonna have a video coming on that soon once I find out where that leak is coming from and how to fix it. But they epoxied instead of replacing a cheap snap. I don't know. All I know is the company that did this glass work is they're somewhere in the Brazoria area in Texas, which is outside of Houston. That's all I know, because that's where this came from. But they epoxied in the place where a snap was, and there were other snaps that were broken when I pulled this off, because it was easy to pull off in those areas. You know, these snaps are known to break. But there's also just a poor job that's done on the edge of the windshield. So I have this stuff. I saw it on Jay Leno's Garage. I tried it out a few years ago, and it's just called POR15, and they're not sponsoring me or anything for making this video, but I'm a firm believer in this, because I touched up rust on cars 3-4 years ago, and it has not developed. And the people that make POR15, which is called paint over rust, they tell you that you can literally paint over rust if you have to, but it is better if you sand it down first. So I'm going to sand this down first and then touch it up. But this, I have some rust spots that I touched up there, and there are some. So I touched all of that up with the POR15, and that was over a year ago. The rust has not expanded or tried to build back up. I guess that's kind of the same thing, but there's different spots around, just all these little nicks that are on it, some new ones that kind of developed above the windshield. I'm going to go through this, and I'm just going to sand this down, and then just use that POR15. Now what I'm going to use, I have 120 grit sandpaper, and that's what I'm going to use to get this rust off, and then I'm going to have to chip off this paint here, because I know that the rust has developed around the paint, underneath where it's chipping. That's typically how rust spreads before you see it. So I'm going to chip off around this area where the paint. Alright, I got my sandpaper. I'm just going to try to lightly sand this without scratching up the rest of the paint. Now I did clean the surface area of this really well before I started sanding it. So that way I got most of the contaminants off, and then I'll clean it again really well, so that there's really nothing underneath this. What you don't want to do is you don't want to sand this and then wait a day, because rust will start to develop again. So even though they tell you that you can paint over the rust, they do also say that it's better if you sand it. And since rust will kind of start to develop overnight, microscopically, it'd be better if you just sanded it and then covered it up as soon, like right after you did it. Alright, now get some kind of alcohol, something like that, and then you go over the spots where you just cleaned before you paint it. And with this stuff, you just brush it on. And then you come back with some kind of a fast evaporating alcohol, rubbing alcohol, denatured alcohol, I don't know, whatever. So one other thing that I will say with this stuff is once you open the top up and then you seal it back down, if you have any paint around the top, or the paint over rust stuff around the top, it seals it back down and you cannot open it. You have to destroy the can trying to get it out, because it seals really well. It's like a glue or paint really, but it's tougher than normal paint. So what I did is I punctured a hole in the bottom of this one, and then I've been sealing it up with plastic, so I can just puncture it again in a different spot and seal it up with just a plastic bag. It makes a nice seal, and I still have some in it. So I'm gonna stir it. All right. Now another thing that I have to say with this stuff is it stains very easily. So if you get it on concrete, it'll be a permanent stain. If you get it on your clothes, it's a permanent stain. It's worse than normal paint. Looks like what somebody did is they had a razor blade right here that slipped and went up and just scratched the paint. Again, something else that's very frustrating. But I'm going to touch that up, and then I've got a little bit of something here. I'm going to put some on. Okay, so that's it. POR15. I love this stuff. I'm a firm believer in it, and I've touched up a little bit more rust. Now this whole thing, just considering just the crappiness of this job that was done, I want to pull off the other side, but I know I've got to order more snaps before I do pull off the other side. So but hey, that's it. I'm gonna put a couple more coats on this, but that's just the end of this little basic, I don't know, tutorial, how-to, introduction to a product. I love this stuff. They're not sponsoring me, and I'm doing this of my own free will. So but thanks a lot for watching it this far. I've actually got to move my vehicle right now, so this is perfect timing. But hey, make sure you like, subscribe, leave a comment down below, and yeah, God bless you guys.